Herb Cain, the Jerusalem Post diplomatic analyst, will now moderate a fireside chat on bilateral trade between David Leffler, Israel's Director General of the Ministry of Economy and Industry, together with Samir Chaturvedi, the CEO of the Khalifa Industrial Zone of Abu Dhabi, KIZAD.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this session. This session is entitled Increasing Bilateral Trade. If we would have thought it just a few months ago that we'd have two senior officials from the UAE and Israel talking about increasing bilateral trade, most people wouldn't have believed it. But here we are with Samir Chaturvedi, the CEO of the Khalifa Industrial Zone in Abu Dhabi, KIZAD, and Mr. David Leffler, Director General of the Ministry of Economy and Industry in Israel. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Mr. Chaturvedi, let me start with you, please. Israel's finance ministry has said that they recently projected that within a couple of years, bilateral trade between the two countries could climb up to $6.5 billion a year, which would catapult the UAE into one of Israel's leading trading partners around the globe. Is that overly optimistic, or is that something that you actually think could materialize?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be involved in this initiative. Having lived in Israel myself, and worked and lived in there, it's always a great opportunity to talk to friends from that side. We talk about the 6.5 billion number. Looking at the two dynamic and innovative countries, I don't see this estimate being very optimistic. It's a very realistic number, which I believe that we should be able to reach in a couple of years from now. Abraham Accord is one of the most positive and bold initiatives in the recent times. It has created a lot of excitement and curiosity around. A lot of statements have been made. It's now time to start changing and transforming this excitement and curiosity into trust and confidence into each other. People need to meet each other. We need to create more people-to-people contact, engagement, and understanding to get people confident to invest into each other, invest together into new economies. We also see these two economies have been very, very similar in some ways. Same amount of people, similar populations, similar size of economy, and same innovative, I would say, economies which have always punched above their weight in face of adversities all along. Resilience has been the main characteristic for both for UAE and Israel, where they have created value in these harsh environments over a period of time. We also see a lot of complementarity where, on one hand, Israel have created excellence into high-tech, into advanced manufacturing, into agri-tech, research and development. And on the same count, UAE has created some amazing developments in trade, commerce, logistics. They have created infrastructure that connects the world. They have created airlines, shipping companies, and ports, which have connected the whole world together. Getting the two economies together, leveraging from each other's values, each other's value propositions, can actually create benefit on both ends. They can reach new markets, the sourcing, the technology can help produce cheaper, faster, better goods. And through the linkages created by UAE, it can reach into wider region much faster, much cheaper, much better. I'm personally very, very excited on the opportunities and the possibilities in there, and I'm looking forward to some wider engagement as the COVID situation improves.
Thank you. Mr. Leffler, let me ask you the same question. This goal of $6.5 billion, it sounds kind of astronomical. Is that real? And Samir talked about building trust. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I agree with my friend, Mr. Chaturvedi. I hope I said it right now. That we can be optimistic. We can be optimistic for the reasons that my friend just mentioned. is that we are both very export-oriented countries, economies. We are open societies, diverse population, and good business community. And I also agree that now, after the excitement and after the official ceremonies and the governments celebrating the event, now it's time for the business communities to meet and talk to each other. And if I go to the figures, I can give you some figures that just to show the potential. If we talk about the UAE import, let's say in precious stones and metals, around $58 billion a year. Israeli exports in the same in the stone and precious stone and metals, okay, about $12 billion. So you can see this two figures meet, and we can produce a lot of business out of it. So there's other potential, other figures that can show that the potential is great. And now, how you build trust between the business communities? Again, I agree with my friend that you have to meet. We have to get to know each other's culture. It's not so very different, I must say. And I just, with a grain of salt, I would say that the Israelis maybe are very, very harsh to get to the business right away. And maybe the Israelis should be a little bit more patient and take the time. And I was in Dubai in the GITEX conference a month ago, and I saw many, many Israelis there. I hope that we learn to take the time to get to know the people. It will take some time, but again, I'm very optimistic.
Mr. Chaturvedi, your industrial zone, Khaleej, has recently signed an agreement with the Manufacturing Association of Israel, a body representing about 95% of industry in Israel. What benefits do you see coming out of this industry for both sides?
I will continue from what I said some time back. We need to get engagement between people, between businesses, between organizations, and that's where the trust starts building. We have already started our movement on that subject. We have been in discussion with the Manufacturers Association of Israel and their members for some time. A very interesting body run by professionals. The interaction over the last few months have been very, very encouraging. I'm confident that we will see something big happening. On one hand, Manufacturers Association of Israel represents 95% of the industry in Israel. On the other hand, Khalifa Abu Dhabi Ports is one of the major gateways of trade for UAE, and Khaleej and Zones Corp, the two platforms, are the primary platform for industrial activities within UAE. This agreement is very, very significant as it opens the dialogue between two major platforms, two major bodies of industrial development that provides new opportunities to its members in industrial cooperation, in transfer of knowledge, R&D, bilateral trade, and in technology cooperation in many ways. This will open new market for sourcing basis for both Israeli and UAE companies. On one hand, it will provide better upstream sourcing for both countries' customers or industries where they can find better technology, better way of producing things. And on the downstream side, with the kind of infrastructure and connections created by UAE, it can actually help Israeli companies take their products to the wider regional market at a much faster pace and in a much efficient way. Frankly, you see magic happening when two countries like this or two strong forces come together. I'm very confident that this association will slowly start showing results as we interact more and more with Israeli companies and as we bring these organizations together. Our focus is to make sure that we create a constant recurring dialogue between the industries on both sides, get the people meet each other and create business on their own. So we are the platforms which are integrating and hopefully we will see some results very soon.
Thank you. But we only have time for one more question, so let me turn to Mr. Leffler. Tell me, Stuart, were you surprised at both the pace of how things have moved and also the warmth that you see on both sides in doing business one with the other?
Yes, I was privileged to be on the first mission to UAE in September, and it was very, very exciting. And in a way, I was surprised. I would say, maybe just two points that I would like to make. First of all, I was surprised on how we were welcomed by the UAE officials. And second, I was surprised a little bit with the practicality. I was surprised for the good, with the practicality of the people. They talked business right from the first moment. And in our culture in the Middle East, sometimes, the business meetings start with talking about everything and then get to the point at the last minute of the meeting. And here I saw, I would say, a very business-oriented community that, okay, let's talk business. Okay, we know the Abraham Accord, everyone is happy. What's next? Very practical approach, and we could relate very, very well to that.
Great. Okay, very nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate you both being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.